With regard to today's presentation, I just want to take us back before we go into talking about how the different ways in which we work with businesses, and just talk about the UTC, the context of the UTC, and then a little bit more about how we engage, and then before I pass you on to my colleagues. So first of all, the Leigh UTC, we're based in Dartford, and we opened in September 2014. We have a very clear vision. And that vision was part of the education brief in 2012, when it was written by myself and the governors at the time. And it was about creating a curriculum that was STEM based. And the focus of the curriculum was really centered around destinations and making sure that our students were prepared for the workplace, and so that they could leave us, as the vision you can see on the screen now, creating STEM professionals of the future workforce. And like many UTCs, we had the challenges of recruitment at 14, and I think some have done exceptionally well in being able to manage that. And I think where we're based in Kent, we also had the additional challenge of some exceptional schools close to us as well, all doing fabulous work with their students. And our USP was very much focused around STEM, but nonetheless, we still had the challenge of trying to recruit at 14. Less so a challenge at 16. And I think that the older students found the curriculum offer more to their liking, because it was very much centered around our two specialisms of engineering and computer science. What's really interesting for us is that if you take it right back to the beginning, when we opened in 2014, it was about creating a culture. And I think on the next slide, you'll see with regards to that, in terms of how we've nurtured business engagement. And we've done that through a variety of forms. And when we set out within our education brief and within our funding agreement to ensure that the majority of our stakeholders, our governors, were from a business background. That is so important. So I think that's the very first steps. And that's not always easy. If you're in an existing school or college, the hand you're dealt is sometimes that's it. You've got to work with that. But we were fortunate, and I was fortunate, to set up a governing board that had approximately 70 to 75% of its makeup coming from the business community or from higher education. And that in itself is fantastic, because they obviously come with the business acumen, but also it's the supply chains they bring with them. It's the experience they have of working with other businesses, and what they can tap into, I think, is really important. So right from the get-go, you have that understanding. So we're fortunate, obviously, in that position to have that. I think also, as I said earlier on, we're also based in Dartford, and Dartford is has changed dramatically since we opened in 2014. And part of that sort of Thames Gateway was all about the redevelopment of the land around the Thames, and a number of what we call SMEs, small to medium sized enterprises, sprung up over the last 10 years. And that's also been to our benefit, because many of these small to medium sized enterprises are looking to recruit. They were looking to recruit a workforce, and that has helped us as well to sort of tap into what their needs. And it's not just about, obviously, making the initial engagement with them. It's about how you keep them warm. And I think some of the ideas you'll get during this presentation will show you how to do that, because there are challenges, most definitely. But what we've been able to do here is that it's not down to any one individual. It's not either myself driving it, well, initially driving this, but it's really incumbent upon all staff. And, you know, I make it my priority really to ensure that within, when we talk about performance management of staff, we say to them that, you know, it is obviously about outcomes for students, which is really important. But it's also really important for us we can underestimate destinations. And to get the destinations, we need to ensure that we have worked closely with businesses, engage with businesses, find out what they're looking for. And that really is where we're at. So we have many of our staff, it's not just one or two, we're talking the vast majority of staff, have that ability now to know where to go to, what to get involved in, whether it's through one of our business breakfasts, whether it's through inviting people in for presentations, or whether it's going out and doing trips and visits into the workplace. It's not just down to one or two individuals, it's everyone, and that's really important. And I think, again, if we move on to the next slide, you will see that about we've created this culture, and I think that happens over time, and it's part of what I consider now our DNA. I mean, I have to revisit it. Obviously, when we get new staff, the turnover of staff, and when you have people in, it's about developing that culture. So it started, as I said earlier on, it's part of our DNA. It's in the education brief. It's about making sure that we build upon the business engagement. It's not just about one or two businesses. It's not about just going with some big name businesses, which we have. It's about 70, 80, 90, 100 different companies, and they all want slightly different things from us. At the same time, we want slightly different things from them. It works both ways. And over the last 8 years since we opened, we've come across a number of challenges. And it's about making sure, as I said earlier, that with this one, it's about making sure I revisit the vision throughout the year, throughout the academic year. New students, new staff come and go, and it's important that remains so and at the centre of what we do. But at the same time, you're also going to get changes of staffing within the local businesses, and as they move around as well, and that happens quite a lot. And so you end up revisiting companies. The turnover of staff there is the same, so you might want to bring new people in, and you have to get back to the starting point with them as well, and that can create a challenge, and it does take time to nurture that, but it's really important. And I think from both sides, the one thing I've always learned from both sides, whether it's from education or from business, it's that don't overpromise and then end up under-delivering. What you want to be able to do is go in small, try and make small steps, try and build those relationships, really solid foundations, and then just build it from there. And if you're fortunate enough, you do end up getting more back from that. But it's really important that you don't just try and go in there and try and overpromise on anything at all. And the other thing I've learned is, and this is difficult because businesses, and rightly so, businesses sort of live in the here and now. They're looking to recruit someone. They will be thinking, I need to chat to your 17, 18-year-olds about someone I need to recruit within the next 6 to 12 months. But what you've got to be able to do in this relationship is you've got to get them to see the bigger picture. You've got to get them to think. But actually what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to talk about your company, but talk to them, to our year 7s, to our year 8s, the younger students, and build up that relationship over a number of years. That for us really is the essence of what makes the UTC in terms of its cultures. Actually, whichever way you cut us now, it's not just about the older students having the opportunity to go and do work experience, go and do projects with business, be part of the business breakfasts and some of the competitions. It's actually the younger students. That's where you've got to embed that sort of relationship, because they're the ones really who you need to nurture and you need to bring on over the sort of 5 to 7 years. So that's really important to us. But overriding all of this, for me, is destinations. And I think that we're really lucky that there are companies now who come back to us to employ people from our student ranks because they've had success in the past and they come back to us directly. So that's the proof, really, from my perspective, that it's working. When you get companies who come back time after time again. Now, obviously, in the last couple of years with the pandemic, there has been difficulties, but we're coming out the other side of it, and we're trying to get back to where we were just before we went into the first lockdown in terms of initiating those face-to-face meetings, whether it be through mentoring programs, whether it be through our apprenticeship programs we have on offer here, the business breakfast, which I alluded to, but also we have our business awards, which is really important. And then also bringing just businesses in and talking to them about education, because education, as we know, changes rapidly as well. And to keep our local businesses and their HR departments informed of all those changes. And I'll just give you a couple of examples from our perspective at the moment. The one key thing that is coming through loud and clear from businesses, they want to know more about T-levels. They want to know whether T-levels are going to be successful, what type of students are on the program, what type of qualifications they're going to have, what are they looking for. So all of that is really great to have, because that's an insight to what they're thinking about, and I'm able to bring them in and we're able to discuss that and unpick some of the problems or challenges they may have thinking about that. So that's one example of many things that enable us to have what we call a two-way partnership. It's not just all about businesses and what they can offer the schools, it's about what the schools can give back as well. So from my perspective, that is really, really important. If we go on to the next slide, thank you, Georgina, thank you. Obviously, this one is just about the type of people you're going to hear from today and the range of people. So we've got people who work for the UTC, including myself, the assistant principal, who's going to be a video, Sarita, who heads up my post-16, Jay, who heads up my apprenticeship program here, and then we've got two business partners, Greg and Temi, but we're also going to hear from two of our students and get an insight from them about how they find it from their perspective in terms of working with local businesses. So hopefully you get a full sort of 360 of what it looks like. I'm just going to share a couple of slides before I move on about destinations, because I keep coming back to destinations. And I think if you see the next slide, which talks about our destinations in terms of this last academic year, we're really proud of the fact that when you compare us both to other UTCs, of which there are 49 nationally, and when you compare that then to the local authority, but also to national, you can see quite clearly the impact that we have in terms of destinations and outcomes, in terms of the types of careers the students go into. We're really pleased that the majority of those are STEM-based careers, because that, again, is part of our vision, as you saw at the very start. But overwhelmingly, it really gives you a picture and insight into actually what we're trying to do with students is take them on that journey, where obviously all schools are mindful of the fact about NEETs and not wanting to be able to have high levels of NEETs, but at the same time, it's about exposing students to opportunities throughout their time here at the UTC. And in doing so, what we're not actually saying is this job would suit you or this job would suit you. It's about nurturing those relationships with a range of companies. And what we get back is companies saying, I could actually see an opening there for that particular student within our workforce. And I think that's what's happening. This is quite telling. And although this is a snapshot of just the last year, it's actually over the last 5 or 6 years since we've really started having students leaving us. You can see from the data that Hive and national types of students who go on, and it's really sort of level 3, level 4 degree apprenticeships or higher education seem to be the main areas where students go to. And if you look at the last slide from me, thank you, Georgina. You can see again on this one's worth looking at because it compares data over the last 2 years. And it talks about those where they go to. So you'll see that it's apprenticeships, higher apprenticeships, higher education, or in this particular case here is where, like you can see there at the bottom there, where they go to within for all our students who leave here. I think what's also quite telling is that when you look at this, the data is slightly skewed because, again, the last 2 years it's been difficult to find students apprenticeships within the pandemic, and we found it far easier to get students onto degree apprenticeships pre-pandemic than we have after. But actually it still shows quite tellingly that the students are finding those destinations, and I think that's really important for us. I'm conscious of the time and there's quite a lot to get through, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand you over to Sarita, who's going to take you on the next phase, which is about us being also an IB World School. So thank you for listening, and Sarita, over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're really excited to be sharing strategies and the different techniques we put in to build our business engagement, really. But before I introduce you to our fabulous students, I just wanted to talk to you about the IB Learner Profile. So if you're not familiar with that, really it's a set of qualities and characteristics that underpin our reward system and achievement at the UTC. So it's really designed to develop active and compassionate long life learners, which foster distinctive attributes, as you can see on the screen there. And at our awards evening that happened a couple of months ago, some of our business partners were really keen and interested in actually the different profile qualities that we try and install in our students. So it's not just about the qualifications on their CV, but it's the different type of characteristics that they bring to a business, which sometimes are actually much more valuable than the qualifications that every student might be coming out of school with. So before I move on to discussing a little bit more about how we engage our business partners, I'm going to introduce you to Tochi and Rico, and they're just going to tell you briefly who they are and what they do here at the UTC before we then start looking into some other strategies.
Hello, I'm Tochi. I'm in year 13, so this is my last year of sixth form. I'm currently studying A-level maths, A-level physics, and level 3 BTech engineering.
Can you see me? My name is Rika. I'm a year 12 student. I'm on the academic pathway, so I currently study A-level maths, A-level physics, the level 3 BTech diploma in engineering, and I recently picked up an AS in further maths.
Thank you, gentlemen. So fantastic students. Hopefully you'll be hearing from them from the different experiences that they've had, even just in the couple of months that some of our year 12s have had here. So Steve's now going to talk to you about the business breakfast and our awards evening, and hopefully invite Temi and Greg to talk too about their experiences as a business partner in that.
Right, thank you, Sarita. With regard to business breakfast, I mean, most of us who work in education might not be familiar with what a business breakfast is, maybe. When we initiated the UTC, we used to go along to local business breakfasts, which take place in, I mean, there's many of them, you know, local businesses, local LEPs and things like that. So we got in with small to medium-sized enterprises who gather on monthly basis, local venues, and we went along and we did our own presentations to them to talk about what a UTC education is all about and talk about the benefits of students coming through UTC. We soon realized that actually a lot of the questions coming back to us, it'd be really handy to take this group of people who turn up to business breakfast, and actually engage with them back at the UTC. So we decided to run our own business breakfast, and we will have somewhere between 4 and 6 a year, depending on what was going on at that particular time. And these have proved to be really successful. On average, we get anywhere between sort of 18 and 20 businesses turning up, lots of new ones each time. And although the agenda changes, we have a different focus for each business breakfast. And sometimes they're around apprenticeship programs and the changes on apprenticeships from frameworks to standards, and about funding. And we sometimes invite people in to talk about things like that funding and what people can actually get back through taking on apprentices. We also use the occasion to actually showcase our students. And we found that actually a lot of the employers really do want to listen and hear from our students with regards to their own projects, about that, what they're getting involved in, where they hope to be, because that also gives out a signal. It gives out this signal about actually, you know, our students looking, whether they're looking for higher education or then looking to come back into the business in a few years, or time, or are they looking to get apprenticeship programs? And if so, there might be people out there in the audience thinking about taking someone on. But also it really does help bridge that gap, because I think I find most businesses coming into the UTC at first, they struggle with the fact that actually coming into a school to begin with. They're like, oh, you know, not been in school for many years, but actually once they get over that barrier and actually go and have a look around, speak to the students, it really does open up their eyes about the changes that have taken place in education as well in recent years. You know, the facilities we have, the resources we have to hand, what things really, where it's not just engineering, you know, the computing and the technology we use in schools these days, most of it is industry standard. Most of the things we do, a lot of industry and business employers come to us and say, oh, this is the same thing that we have in our place, and we use this as well. And so it opens up a debate around that. So business breakfasts have been really hugely popular. And if you think from a school perspective, it's really straightforward to set up. I mean, yes, we lay on some refreshments for people coming along. We promote it on social media, so we can put out our big business breakfast adverts on LinkedIn and on other channels we use as well. And we also go back to our supply chains, and we get them to think about whether someone's able to come along and visit. And as you can imagine, it just opens up those opportunities for discussion. So for us, business breakfasts have been really critical in bringing in new businesses all the time to the UTC. And many of them, once you've got those connections, they feel like once they've got a face and they know someone they can come back to, then they do keep doing so. So we find that really useful. So as far as business breakfasts go, we're going to continue doing, like I say, rolling those out somewhere between 4 and 6 a year at the moment. The next slide, please. When we opened in 2014, one of the key areas for us was being able to raise funds, obviously, because we have a UTC that demands quite a lot in terms of the resources we have, but also the never-ending cost that places and the burden that places on schools to ensure that we're able to continue offering the range they need to be successful. And what we wanted to do was put a slight twist on our awards evening. We wanted to make sure, first of all, that we recognised the students who were excelling and doing really well, but at the same time, we wanted to invite our business partners in so they could see this firsthand. And we do it as a dinner, a sit-down dinner. We have a local company who makes the awards and the trophies, an engineering company, so they're very much bespoke trophies for the individuals. We invite the award winners along with their parents to a sit-down meal. And if the awards are for STEM-based awards, we try and match up the students with relevant companies. So that they have an awareness, or the parents and the students, with the company, and they can talk about why they won that particular award. On top of that, the companies come along and they pay for the tables and for the meal, so they're putting money into that. We also have, alongside that, we have auctions, silent auctions, where lots of the companies put money into projects, school-based projects. Some of them might be straightforward things like you would probably do in any school, whereby you're looking for a sponsorship. So you might want a straightforward sponsor. And if it was sports equipment or sports clothing, it might just be that you've got the company logo on your sports kit. But there was plenty of that. But a lot of the companies want to offer their services. So we get our minibus every year paid for by a local company. Different companies, they just want the name of their company and the partnership with the UTC, and that pays for the cost of the minibus. So there's lots and lots of benefits that come through the awards evening. I know we've on the call today, we've actually got two of our business partners, and that's Greg and Temi. And now might be a good time actually just to invite Greg and Temi to talk about both the business breakfasts and the awards evening. So if we could ask on here, I've got Greg first. So Greg, if you're there, if you would like to say a few words, I'd appreciate that.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Greg from Thames Water. I think I started off coming to UTC. We're very local to the UTC. We've got a sewage works around the corner, so we're very close. So I think I started off going to one of the business breakfasts as well, and it was great to meet everybody. I've been to quite a few business breakfasts now, and you certainly do meet the staff, and you hear from the students as well. So it's really nice to see what they're up to and what they're doing. And the students never fail to surprise me with some of their projects that they create, and so they're very interesting. It's exciting to go in there and see what they're doing, and it's very impressive. So it's nice to be involved in that way. The awards, and also obviously that led to lots of different contacts within the UTC, but also with other businesses. So it's been really helpful in that way. And the awards evening is really nice. It's lovely to see what the students have been up to, hear how they're getting on, hearing from some of the alumni students as well, coming back and saying what they're up to now, where they've gone to in their destination. So that's really been great as well. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it, really found it useful. And it's great to be involved in that way. So I don't know if that's a similar experience that you've had, Temi.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Greg, and good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay, by the way. Yeah? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, okay. All right, great. Sorry, I'm just checking. So good evening, everyone, and I hope everyone is doing well. Yes, Greg, I fully agree with you. So I've been to a few of the business breakfast meetings, and I've been to two of the awards dinner as well, which I thought was very, very exceptional and inspirational. And I say that because of what you hear from students, obviously, who had been at the UTC previously, and what they're doing in terms of their future and what they're getting involved in now, and the plans they've got for the future as well. I think a key word Steve has used a lot today is destinations. And you can actually see that progress you can see that in the journey of each of the students who come and talk during those awards dinner. But it's also about the students who get the awards as well. It's great to see the brilliant successes they're having, and more particularly the value adds that the UTCs bring into the lives of the students. So I think that's really exceptional. The business breakfast also, I've been a few times, and it's amazing to hear some of the projects the students have been working on, really fascinating, innovative projects. I've heard about some who have built drones, someone who had developed a 2D for a two-stroke engine, designed from scratch using SolidWorks, and someone who's working on a motorbike as well. I could go on. Several projects that have been delivered. So I think it's just exceptional. But also it's a fantastic way for businesses to engage with the education system. Infrastructure. So I work within infrastructure. So infrastructure has got a significant opportunity and growth pipeline at the moment, but there is a huge problem. The problem is the skills shortage, which is about to hit the UK. And I think now is the time for businesses to start engaging more with schools like the UTC, for example. And it's just a fantastic way on how you actually translate academic knowledge into practical knowledge and skills, where you get businesses to come in to understand what students are doing and see how they can engage with them more better. So for me, it's been a fantastic experience. It's about strategic partnerships. It's about alignment. It's about building for the future. It's not the here and now, actually, but it's about the future. And I think businesses actually play a key role in that. So overall, for me, actually, it's been a fantastic experience, being able to work with the UTC, and I do that through several ways. So I work for a consultancy as an engineer, but I'm currently seconded into Crossrail, where I head up commissioning for the whole of the central section. So being able to talk about what the UTC does in my various meetings and discussions. Very recently, I've been engaging with the CIOB, so the CIOB, on how they can partner with the UTC and see how they can further strengthen and work with them in the future. So it's a great opportunity. Back to you, Stephen.
Thanks, Temi, and thanks, Greg, as well, for your words. I think what you touched on there, which really resonates, and I think plays an important part with all our businesses, is hearing from our alumni, former students. And I think that former students are really good at putting it out in terms of their journey. You know, they can talk about their journey sort of coming through the UTC, but also post UTC, and the lessons they've learned and how their interactions with businesses have helped shape their career, and that's so important. That's really powerful. So we actively encourage all of our former students to keep in touch. We use LinkedIn extensively for that, and whenever we're having an event, and the awards evening is one of those types of events, but other events also, or whether we're doing celebrating certain weeks throughout the year, so it could be Apprenticeship Week is a good example. We put it out there for former students who are apprentices to come back and talk to our students about their journey. And that's really, really powerful. And it's powerful for our current students, but it's equally powerful for people like Temi and Greg, as they've just said, listening to the students and their journey. Because I can try and put it into words, and I can talk from my perspective as the head, but actually it's so much more powerful when you can bring a student in and talk from their perspective about the journey they've been on. And that really works for us. Before we move on, I can see Temi's just raised his hand, and he'd probably like to say a couple more words on that.
Yeah. So thanks, Stephen. I think one of the key things I actually forgot to mention, which I think is really important, it's about mentoring and coaching as well. So lots of businesses provide mentoring and coaching supports to students. So I've got a number of students I mentor as well at the UTC, and it's about preparing them. I think Stephen touched on this as well. It's not just about the academic knowledge, but it's about preparing them for the future. It's about building them in terms of their values, their personality, their style, their approach, and ensuring they're future proof and future ready, actually. So there's a lot of coaching and mentoring, which I think actually has been a very, very excellent example at the UTC. So I thought I had that in very quickly. Thank you.
Thanks, Temi, for that. Yeah, I think we might be touching on that later on through Sarita as well, about the types of interactions our business partners have. So, you know, it's obviously a lot of schools will involve businesses within presentations, invite them in and doing assemblies. But to actually, as Temi said there, get them involved in the sort of one-to-ones with students and talking to them much more on that level about the skills. I mean, Temi mentioned the skills that are required. I mean, the skills students need to have to be successful are very much more than just a group or of qualifications. And it's really important that we emphasize that with our students. And we do that really well here at the UTC. I'm going to go on to the next slide, which I think is back to Sarita, if I'm correct.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so the Routes to Success Week is one of our favourite weeks, I think, in our calendar, and I'll talk about sort of how we plan these in a little bit later on. But this is a week where originally it's been running for a few years for our year 12 students. So at the end of their year 12, we take them off timetable and we basically do lots of activities to gear them up about looking again into their destinations and thinking about how they approach the start of year 13, which is imperative, obviously, to build those foundations for success. So I'm going to pass you over in a moment to Tochi, who's going to talk to you about the experiences in Routes to Success Week. But just to sort of explain roughly what it is. So we have lots of different engagement from our business partners. So for example, Greg came in Thames Water for a whole day, and the students, you can see some of the pictures on the screen, I think, actually took part in a project for Thames Water for the whole day, working as a team, getting an achievement out of that, which was just brilliant. And some of those activities do take place in some apprenticeship interviews, so it's really good for them to be exposed to those kind of activities very early on. There's also we have universities come in to talk to them about other destinations, so they have a real informed decision about what steps they need to take when they go into year 13. So there's lots of activities we run. We invite people in to talk about LinkedIn. A lot of our students use LinkedIn very well. They make contacts with our business partners, and obviously you look at various jobs that are posted. We're always trying to encourage them to be at the forefront of those jobs opportunities. I'm going to pass you over to Tochi now so he can explain his experience of Routes to Success, and I will speak to you again in a moment.
Hi everyone. So with Routes to Success, I feel like it was one of my favorite weeks in year 12. So we had Routes to Success at the end of year 12 for a week. And I say that it was one of my favorites simply because it was very fun and very useful. We got to meet with different companies. We got to even meet with universities. We were visited by University of Canterbury, which was very good. We were also visited by Greg, as Miss said, from Thames Water. And we also got to speak to Coca-Cola. So in the Routes to Success week, we got to participate in different activities. For example, with Thames Water, we were able to understand how they help the community. We were able to play around with pipes, like, you know, it was just very fun activities. We got to see how water flows through different cities. And I found that very fun. I found it very useful. It gave me more of an insight as to how the company works. We also got to speak to Coca-Cola, as I said. We got to meet with someone called Amelia, who was actually a former student in the Leigh UTC, I think one of the first 6 formers from 2016 to 2018. She was given an opportunity to work as a mechanical engineer apprentice in Coca-Cola. And she basically also gave us an insight as to how Coca-Cola works, what her role is. So I feel like Routes to Success was a very useful week for me. It also presented me with an opportunity to have work experience with a company called Corey Energy. So how this came about was with Routes to Success, the school brought in different companies where we got to have mock interviews. And with this mock interview, 4 of us were actually selected to go and work with the company in October. So it was previous. And I was able to graduate as an industrial silver cadet. So that's why I feel like Routes to Success is a very useful week that the UTC provides to the year 12s.
Thank you, Tochi. Okay, so can't emphasize the enthusiasm there, and that was the same feedback we got from many of our students actually. They really enjoyed it. They fully engaged in it, and I think it kind of also built the relationships between the staff here, the businesses here. It allowed us to sort of talk to them on a different level, not just sort of beating them with a have you done your homework situation. It was that, you know, okay, so what are you thinking? What are your next steps? How are you going to get there? What if you haven't done your homework? You're going to be able to do this. So really successful and really interesting week. So I'm now going to talk to you, Toshi just mentioned it briefly, about work experience and some of the opportunities that we have here, which is on the next slide. So we've had a various work experiences happening since I've been here, that students have gone to various different companies. And actually what I will say at this point is about seizing the opportunities. So we get inundated, and I'm sure you do as other schools and organisations, with emails constantly about, look at this opportunity, can you do this, from perhaps Youth Construction Trust, etc. And it's about filtering through those, although it takes time, but it's about seizing those opportunities that you can offer to your students and give them that priority of work experience, because it's just exceptional. They learn so much from it, as I'm sure you probably appreciate. We've had a Coca-Cola experience which was virtual. Obviously we managed to do everything virtual last year, but for Coca-Cola they came in, or they didn't come in, they were virtual for 3 days with our year 13 students, and they were designing basically part of their system in the Coca-Cola factory, which was brilliant. They got the opportunity to present to the different Coca-Cola sort of hierarchy, if you like, which was really great experience. And as Tochi mentioned, he was at ICCG and also at Corey Energy in the last couple of years as work experience. But I'm going to pass you over as well to Rico. So he's been with us a couple of months now, and he's done a work experience through the Youth Construction Trust, and he's just going to let you know really how for him that experience felt.
Yeah, I took part in a 3-day work experience with National Highways in partnership with Balfour Beatty. Originally, the application process was through the Youth Construction Trust. And then when the work experience actually started, on the first day, we got to consult with Balfour Beatty professionals about a design brief for a bridge that spanned across the Thames to ease traffic off the A226, the Essex Way. On the second day, we got to make a makeshift bridge, essentially, that was originally based off our design, with popsicle sticks and like pipe cleaners and fun things like that, and like a fictional budget that was 100 million. On the third day, we got to consult professionals again to get our final project brief done and a presentation so that we could present our bridge idea to 4 Balfour Beatty professionals. And then it was essentially like a competition out of 3 teams to see who would win and have the best bridge design. On the third day also, we had mock interviews with the Balfour Beatty professionals. That was a very interesting experience. They asked us questions about ourselves and where we vision ourselves being in 5 years' time, whether that was university or through apprenticeships. And it was a very just enjoyable experience that gave me a lot of insight into the professional world of STEM.
Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so as you can see, again, very enthusiastic, fantastic students to hear from the other side of the story, as it were. So before, we're going to move on now. Demi touched on it a little bit earlier, and the mentoring side that we actually now have in the UTC. So it's been going for a number of years. So we've managed to build up quite a few contacts. As Steve has already said, we've nurtured the business engagement over different activities. So we have quite a vast number of mentors that come in from different companies. And you can see one of our students there actually interacting virtually, which is what we've all had to do over the last couple of years. But we do have come back to face-to-face in recent months. But it's a really fantastic opportunity for students to engage directly, one-to-one, with real business partners. So people that are actually not listening to teachers, not listening to parents, but people who are actually at the forefront of where they want to be in the future. And I think that's really important. And basically the students fill in a professional format, and so do the mentors, and then we match them together to make sure that they're obviously getting what they want out of their future opportunities as well. So the CVs are shared, and CV writing is then supported by the mentors and updated, which is really supportive and useful for them. But I'd like to again invite Greg and Temi in to talk about their experiences of mentoring and what they felt that we have been able to offer.
Who's going first, Tammy? Fancy it, or shall I?
Please carry on, Greg.
Guess it's me. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been mentoring for a fair few years at the UTC. Usually around 2 or 3 students each year, and we also put out to our volunteers in the company as well. So we see it as part of the sort of engagement we have for our talent pipeline, that we try and get as many different sort of engagements as we can with the students and continue different engagements throughout for their years at the UTC, different experiences. But I find the mentoring really rewarding it both ways. Really, it's great for yourself. You like I say, you having to think of things that problems that students have that might actually help you in your own life, surprisingly. So quite often I've given solutions to students. We've worked something out together, and it's actually benefited me as well. And it's also a lovely feeling when you can see them making progress. I think it's just going back to your shoes, really, and thinking, what would I like to have been told when I was that age, really? So it's kind of real experience that you can provide from your industry and from your own education to students. So I mean, the UTC try to get as many business mentors as they can in, and I think it's really valuable, and the students really benefit from it. So I've really enjoyed it. And I think hopefully the students have as well. And we've had some good engagement, and we've really helped solve some of the issues and get them to think about things that they wouldn't have even considered. And so it's been really great. And I don't know if this is similar for you, Temi, as well.
I jumped the gun earlier. I probably should have gone for the slides series to send to me, where I talked about mentoring. But I guess I fully agree with you, Greg, and I kind of see this as a two-way actually. So, and I say that because so I've got a number of students I currently mentor, and I realized actually, aside from the fact that it gives the students a fresh perspective, so a fresh perspective out of obviously what their teachers or the principal and others would normally say to them, or the parents at home, but they have a business professional who gives them a fresh perspective. But actually you get a fresh perspective yourself. And I say that because 2 weeks ago, is it 2 or 3 weeks ago, I can't remember, I was at the UTC and I gained something from one of the students. He's actually here today, Tochi. He gave me a fantastic idea I'd never thought about. And I said to him, I'm not going to take the glory for that. So you can, Toshi, you can have the glory for that. It gives you a fresh perspective. But I think, and the second one I would mention, I'm just cautious of time, is it helps the students develop their skills. So I mentioned this earlier on, and making sure that they are future ready, future proof. It's not just about the grades or academic success. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's extremely important that they get the right grades. But when it comes to bringing people into businesses, there's a lot more than that. You've got to make sure people fit in into the organization, and there are a range of morals and skills and personal attributes that are required for that. So it helps them develop their skills. But for me personally, actually, it helps me develop my leadership skills. So as a business, or you send in your people in to engage with students, it helps develop leadership skills as well, whilst the students also get some benefits. So it's been a great experience for me as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And Tochi was smiling away in the background here and nodding and laughing. But yes, certainly. I mean, the students are really keen always to when am I having my next mentoring meeting. So it's really, really fruitful. The students learn a lot, and as you say, you do as well. So benefits for both sides of the activity there. So the next thing I'd like to talk about and how we engage our business partners, and this is a Baker Award. So it's quite unique to the UTC, but there are many awards, as some of you may know and be aware of, out there that you can actually deliver and support your students within school. But the Baker Award here allows us to have basically go through certain criteria to be able to then be awarded by Lord Baker a gold award in this instance for students in year 13. So they've got to achieve certain things with regards to their qualification, take part in work experience, and actually carry out some projects. So some of our year 12s are just starting some of these projects now, and Greg gave us a couple of various activities that they could do that relate to obviously Thames Water and the issues that we have with regards to saving water globally. So that's a really, really fantastic opportunity for students to do. But there's such things like Crest Awards out there, and there's lots of businesses also that want to provide schools with the opportunity to look at projects. So if you go on to people like BAE, for example, Thames Water, they will have their educational departments that they would like you to be part of. So it's a really engaging opportunity that our students do throughout their PHSE and their tutor time as well. So just thought I'd raise that in sense of obviously creating that culture through everything that we do in school. So Temi just mentioned, and Greg as well, that they were in a couple of weeks ago. If you could move on to the next slide about EPQ, please. So we have the opportunity, as many schools do, to deliver the EPQ, which is a fantastic qualification that students really, really enjoy. They get the opportunity to really define their own qualification, so that explore anything that they're interested in related to their career programme. And what we ask the business partners to do is actually come in and work with us to assess them presenting their actual qualification. So it's they will be assessed on their award as part of this. And it was really lovely to have the students getting so, I should say, nervous and anxious that they wanted to do so well to be able to perform and present the projects that they'd actually taken part in. So I'm going to hand you over in a moment to Tochi to talk about the other side of the experience of the EPQ presentation. But Temi, Greg, if you have any input to be able to talk about that activity as well, that'd be brilliant. Thank you.
All I say, yeah, it was a lovely experience listening to all the projects. Again, it's very surprising. Some of the stuff we see, the people you get in front of you, and then what they present is incredible, and you wouldn't expect that, you know, just from looking at them. So it's really nice to see. And that student there, just in front of you on the big picture, I'm actually from that project that he presented. It fitted in with something that matched up with what we do at Thames Water, which is like a water butt, a plant with a planter on top, and he develops like a self-watering system. So we've actually asked him to come take a look at our water butt and sort of actually produce this so that he can water the plants for us. And we're going to try and fund that for him to sort of design that and build it and put it onto our education centre, so we can actually see that functioning, and it'd be a lovely project to extend his EPQ. So it's been really nice to actually be involved with this, help sort of suggest some ideas, and there were a few water ideas, which was nice to see, but also to sort of follow that on and have some back and forth with this student and other students as well about their projects. So it's really nice to be invited in to mark on that, and I'm sure you enjoyed it as well, Temi.
Yeah, I did. It was a very useful session, listening to all of the projects the students are working on. I think I touched on a few earlier, but I think most importantly, it was demonstrating additional skills, not just the academical side of things. So a lot of the students have put a lot of thought process into their project work, but being able to present and articulate that, and standing in front of people to present, that's something I would have not been able to do that at their age. So kudos, and I did say this to all of the students, kudos to the hard work and the commitment they've put in, and the fact that they were open to feedback as well, positive feedback and areas where we thought they could improve. And you could see that majority of them were quite open, actually, if not all of them were open to the feedback that was provided, to ensure that obviously they can take that forward. But it was a fantastic opportunity.
Thank you, Temi. I'm just going to pass you over to Tochi now.
Okay, so with EPQ, as Temi and Greg would know, being that they assessed my EPQ is basically a subject whereby you can gain skills beyond A-level syllabus. And I feel like that's what I've really learned over the past year and a bit of me doing EPQ. For example, myself, I did a dissertation on how music affects mental health. So I was basically talking about the positive effects, the negative effects, and basically speaking about how it affects teenagers within my kind of age group. I really got to understand how Temi, Greg, and also Miss Martin felt about my EPQ, what they gained, and the feedback they gave me. For instance, Temi helped me to realize that my EPQ should really helped me focus on my future. So my EPQ, as for me, I want to be a civil engineer when I grow up, but my EPQ didn't really have much to do with civil engineering. Instead, I was more focused on the skills I would gain from doing the EPQ, but not the skills that I would take with me in the future. So Temi helped me understand, and Greg helped me understand how I could use this EPQ to help me in my future projects. For instance, using music to help construction workers with focus, with stress, all those sorts of things. So I feel like this is what EPQ has really done for me in this last year and a bit.
Thank you so much, Tochi. Okay, so again, another positive experience that all of us are having, and for something simple as just watching some presentations. Of course, it doesn't have to be an assessed piece of work. It could be anything that you see fit in terms of different qualifications that your students are taking part in, but are really useful, giving a really serious note, certainly to the students coming in, and how professional they need to be and display themselves in front of businesses and myself. So the next slide is just briefly about our T-levels. So obviously they're very, very new to the educational system, and we've been pioneering the digital production T-level here at the UTC. But as a part of the T-level, it requires 9 weeks of work experience, and that's a lot. Now, we recognise that it's difficult sometimes to get students just a few days or a week of work experience, but because we've built up this culture and nurtured our business engagement, we are really being able to support that work experience required from our T-levels. And there's just a couple of questions there that I've asked some of the students, how they felt about their work experience. I mean, some of our students are travelling 4 hours on a Wednesday to work with Balfour Beatty, and they think it's very nerve-wracking, but it's a brilliant opportunity for them to be in the workforce, in the workplace itself. So T-levels have really opened that up, and in September we're starting the engineering T-level as well. So again, we've got lots of opportunities to be able to engage our business partners further. So our next slide is about how we use our apprenticeships here at the UTC, and you're going to hear from Jay Wright, our Director of Apprenticeships.
Hi there, my name is Jay Wright and I am the Director of Apprenticeships here at the Leigh UTC. Part of my role as Director of Apprenticeships is to liaise directly with businesses and with the employers for our apprentices, most of whom we have existing relationships with, either as sponsors of the Leigh UTC or as companies who we have done some kind of work with in the past. A lot of these are local businesses or local employers. This means that we get to do quite a lot of work with these employers across the various different courses that we run here at the Leigh UTC. One of the best things about working closely with industry is the opportunities that it provides for our learners, as well as our apprentices. But there is a benefit as well to the employers. The employers and the businesses that we work with tend to actually find some value in working with us. Now that has come as a result of sort of the relationship that we've established over the years. And now that they see there's a bit of a pipeline supply of young engineers, people who are interested in working in their industry, who then potentially become available to them as future employees or apprentices. So that's really, really great. It means there's opportunities for all sorts of collaboration that we can do with businesses. That might involve doing some work experience. It might be sending students out on a placement. It might be that they actually have a potential role available and they might look at some of our students as potential candidates for that and actually interview them directly from us. And in fact, we do have quite a number of our ex-students who have gone on to have an apprenticeship with some of these companies. So yeah, as I mentioned, there's a lot of benefits to be had from those industry links. One of the advantages of having apprenticeships based here at the Leigh UTC means that once a week we have apprentices on site. So when they come in, they're professionally dressed, they're in their work uniforms, and they're quite visible to our students and other learners as they go about the business around the building. That's brilliant for us because it means that we have people on site on a regular basis who become professional role models for our learners, showing them really, this is where you could get to by studying here with us and being interested in the the subjects that they might be doing, such as engineering or computer science. That's great marketing for us as well. We actually use our apprentices and our ex-students in marketing that we do. So we might have events here at school, post-16 events, or as part of National Apprenticeship Week, for example. We would have these people come in and speak directly to our learners about their journeys and about the opportunities that are available to them. So that's going to be quite eye-opening for our learners and our students to see where those people have actually gone to and what they're now doing. Additional benefits for us is that the companies that we work with become more and more on board with the idea of supporting us as a school. They understand that, actually they might not get an employee from it, or they might not get an apprentice from it this year, but by continually feeding into what they do, or what we do, sorry, they have more of a chance of actually being able to headhunt, if you like, the talent that's coming through the school. And in many cases, that's exactly what they do. By being involved with us, they're able to spot those students who've got the potential to be useful or valuable employees to them in the future. One of the ways that we do that is through doing the business breakfasts that we run here at the Leigh UTC, as I'm sure other people will mention. But that's a fantastic opportunity for our students to be able to come and be involved, watch people present, involved with people from industry. Hi there, my name is Jay Wright, and I am the Director of Apprenticeships here.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Was that me? Did I restart it by accident? Did we get to the end? Okay.
Thank you. Well, the next actually slide is about our contributions from Mrs. Dickinson. So she's assistant principal here. She's going to talk to you about the talent acquisition pipeline. And what's really interesting about this, and I spoke briefly at the beginning, is about the planning aspect of how we develop that sort of culture in our school, having everything written on the calendar so we can work towards certain aspects like National Apprenticeship Week, etc. So thank you very much, Regina.
The talent acquisition pipeline underpins personal development at the Leigh UTC. It is a visual representation of activities experienced across each year group to ensure that all students from years 7 to 13 have the personal and professional tools they need to success in life after school, with the flexibility and adaptability for further education, apprenticeship, or in the workplace. The pipeline underpins all areas of the curriculum, including PSHE, and is broad and balanced to ensure that every subject area can contribute to its success. It aims to engage learners, parents and teachers in the process of personal development. As you can see, there is a pipeline for every year group. While some whole school activities occur in every year, the pipelines are tailored to each stage of a student's journey through school to ensure they have opportunities and experiences that are relevant to their age and abilities, so that when the time comes to make decisions about their futures, they have all they need to make informed decisions. Our pipeline is underpinned by the 8 Gatsby benchmarks to ensure that our students are receiving world-class careers education. We also feel that for their personal development, they need to be aware of what is happening in their local, national and international communities. As an IB World School, we are aiming to support our students to be caring, balanced and open-minded global citizens who understand their place in the world and how they can become agents of change from the start of their journey with us. Therefore, we have linked our pipeline to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, ensuring that students know how they can link in with the global aim for a fair and sustainable future. From the very start of Year 7, we teach students what it means to be a learner at the Leigh UTC. We immerse our students in STEM learning with competitions and industry projects. In their very first module, they are visited by one of our 3 local universities to learn about themselves and their transition. This meaningful connection with university ambassadors creates inspiring links that support their future ambitions, planting seeds of success, particularly for learners who have not had parents or siblings go to university before. Our engineering department leads Tomorrow's Engineers Week across the school, engaging all learners in an in-school competition to problem solve and innovate, creating meaningful opportunities and ideas for our post-16 students for their extended projects if they are able to engineer a product dreamt up by a student from lower down the school. National Careers Week is another event celebrated across the school. Students from all year groups engage with industry through assemblies, talks or careers-focused lessons within their subjects. Other events throughout the school year promote personal development around risk-taking and safety. Our Safer Internet Day, led by our computer science team, impacts all areas of the curriculum as students learn about the different aspects of online responsibilities, relationships and risks. And at the end of the year, Key Stage 3 celebrated STEAM Week, an opportunity for learning about STEM and the arts within school and as part of educational visits. As you can see, Year 10 celebrate many of the same events, although they will vary in content and challenge as the years progress. This allows for an immersive experience in different areas of STEM or personal development. At the beginning of each key stage, our students and parents are invited to a Preparing for Success event that invites them to discuss what they are aiming towards and what they need to do to get there. Throughout the year, students have many opportunities for business engagement and careers guidance. Skills workshops allow our students to get advice from a range of different professionals and mentors outside the school environment. This helps them to make links between their subjects and the world of work. And further opportunities for careers guidance come at the end of Year 10, where students start to talk more strategically about the options available to them. This is really useful as they transition into Year 11 and the exam season. Our Routes to Success Week is a week-long event for Year 10 and Year 12. The Year 10 one is focused on post-16 opportunities, where they have access to colleges, workplaces offering apprenticeships and different post-16s, so that they are shaping and making informed choices. In Year 12, we recognise that students are coming to us fresh out of Year 11, and although they have many desirable skills, we have to work with them to ensure they are thinking like young professionals rather than students. We provide workshops about what it means to be a post-16 and how their behaviours inside and outside school can change their learning. We teach all students personal and professional skills as a bespoke curriculum tailored to the skills they will need to be successful in applications, interviews and the confidence to talk about their ideas, interests and aspirations. We found over the last couple of years our Year 12s have relished the opportunity to engage with the workplace through virtual work experience right at the beginning of the year. And we want our students thinking about the kinds of activities they will be able to add to their CVs to demonstrate their interests and skills outside school. Therefore, students choose to take part in creativity, action or service led within the school by the Arts and PE department to foster their interest and allow them an outlet or an opportunity to support their local communities. Further engagement with business comes through different workshops throughout the year, focusing on key skills that will set them apart from the competition. And our final event of Year 12 is a week dedicated to their futures. We have found that this is the week that really cements them as young professionals. They're taught to write CVs, apply for mock roles supplied by our business partners, and have interviews and feedback from these industry professionals. The week is competitive and challenging, but has proved a real highlight for our students year after year. Whilst Year 11 and 13 are obviously the most important years for students in terms of exams and success and big decisions, we find the pipeline supports them through this by building their resilience in the lower years and ensuring they have the information needed to turn their aspirations into reality.
And again, thank you, Sophie. So these are one of the ways in which we try and engage our staff and build that growing culture to look at our destinations and basically engage with our business partners. So being able to plan like that has been really effective, and the students can see these pipeline posters throughout the school, so they can engage and look at other year groups as well that they might be going into, for example, and have conversations with each other. So we found that really effective. Another way we engage our staff is actually through Unifrog. So on to the next slide, please, Georgina. So here we've used, only recently, we've invested in Unifrog as a trust, and we found it so engaging for not only our staff, but our students. So as part of the post-16, our students have a designated day, a destinations day, where they are shown and asked to take part in different activities on Unifrog. And obviously a lot of these cover the Gatsby benchmarks, and we can actually take away their individual profiles, if you like, as to what they've been looking at and what they've been engaging in. Also, if we can move on to the next slide, please. The students are now going to talk to you about how they experience different things within the tutor time and PHSE sessions. So not only do we have the PHSE during tutor time, but we also have a PPS session once a week that the post-16 students take part in, which is their personal and professional development or studies. And within that, they develop lots of other skills, again, aiming for their destinations all the time, developing CVs, looking at lots of different avenues that they can actually take part in, and being very informed about the decisions they are going to have to make at the end of year 13. So there's lots of different activities, but I think it's best listening to the students about how they actually interact with the activities that they take part in to develop other skills that actually business partners are looking for. Thank you, Tochi and Rico.
The tutor time is quite a crucial part of my experience at year 12 at the moment. On Mondays, I have professional development. On Tuesdays, I have personal development. So that would entail using UniFrog as a sort of foundation at the moment to get knowledge of how university applications would work and what kind of routes we can take to get there. The personal development would be something like, at the moment, I'm currently applying to different work experiences. And then on Wednesdays, we don't come into school. On Thursdays, I do have meetings with Miss Martin about how I can progress my sort of, I don't really know how to word this.
You can say what you're aiming for.
Yeah, I'm aiming to go to one of the Oxford universities or a Russell Group university, and there's certain work experiences and weekly courses that I can do that help me get to that point. And I've partaken in quite a few of them at the moment. And these are really valuable things I can do during my tutor time sessions. And on Friday, we have mentoring. At the moment, I'm currently doing a green power engineering project, which is where we build a fully electric go-kart sorts in the engineering workshop. But the previous module, I was doing mentoring. That entailed me personally mentoring year 11s in GCSE maths and just helping them. The majority of the time, that was me just looking over their shoulders and pointing at saying, oh, this needs to be changed or that needs to be changed. But there were also mentoring opportunities for the rest of my year that were one-on-one with year 7 and year 8s. So tutor time is a really crucial thing.
Thank you.
Hi. So for me, my tutor time is not too different from the year 12s, but judging by the time I'm in year 13, so my exams are in June. Most of our personal, professional development are revolved around studying, making sure that all of our work is intact, and applying for stuff like uni degree apprenticeships. A lot of my year group are really finishing their personal statements right now for it to be sent off for UCAS. So on Thursdays, we really like to think about our destinations. So a lot of us do our own private work because we all have different destinations that we want to get to. In regards to Fridays, as you can see, it says give back. We do mentoring. So somebody like me, I mentor around 4 students. I'm normally tasked with mentoring the naughty students, not because I'm naughty or I've been in their position before, but I have been surrounded by students like that, and I kind of know how to tackle those sort of students. So when we talk about mentoring, I'm more or less helping them stay away from what they're doing, teaching them how to be better. I'm not saying I'm the best, but I try my hardest, and basically help them out with their destinations, talk about their ambitions, give them tasks. For instance, I was mentoring a student on Tuesday who doesn't really like to listen to the teachers when they talk to him. You know, he doesn't like to come in the correct uniform, and he has good ambitions. He would like to buy houses, redecorate or remake them, and sell them for higher prices. And as a mentoring tip, I told him, research the steps and precautions you need to take to reach that goal that you want. I'll also research them, and we'll talk about the proper steps you could take in order to actually get there. So that's how I'd say my mentoring method is. I like to help people reach their destination or take the right journey at least.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. So again, you can see obviously passionate students about the different activities that they take part in, and actually the give back part is very much what they're receiving from mentors, from business engagement, from the business partners. They're actually then be able to provide this information to the younger students in the school. So it's a really useful sort of flow that we have, and obviously it engages our staff as well, because the students are always talking about their destinations. So it engages the staff to be able to know about what opportunities there are in the school for them to aim for. So a brilliant opportunity, like I say, for all of our students. So the last slide for myself really today is about the challenges that we face, because of course it all sounds easy and wonderful, and we're talking about the strategies that we're using and the successes we're having, but we do have the challenges as well, like everybody else does. And obviously the main one we will say is about time, but it's really thinking about how we plan that time effectively. And we've developed that over a number of years. It hasn't happened automatically, as we mentioned earlier. It's been developing that culture. So planning the talent acquisition pipeline, for example, making sure that our PHSC and our different post-16 routes, for example, routes to success, are all keyed into the year strategically, so we can develop and work towards them as a team, as a school. Naturally, the pandemic has been a challenge for all of us, but we've adapted, like we've all had to become very virtual. So our students have been mentored overline, as I've mentioned to you earlier. There's obviously been absences, and that's from both ends, and obviously that's pandemic related. But students are very, very resilient. They do bounce back. They quite often want to get back and know exactly what they've missed, so they can then take those steps to be able to fill in those gaps. And from the staff, exactly the same. So absence is, we don't see it too much of a challenge, because we see the outcome of the students and the staff being able to persevere through those points as well. We have training sessions for our business engagement or business partners. So when we have new business partners, we invite them in to be able to talk to them about the key aspects of obviously safeguarding, which is mentioned there, GDPR, and how we actually then would expect the training to look like, what sort of things we're aiming for our students to be thinking about. So it's really crucial, and of course it takes time, we understand that, but again, we can plan that in strategically when we know, for example, our mentoring is just about to happen. Then it engages those business partners straight away to be able to then put their learning, as it were, into place. Challenges within staff, changing staff. And we've mentioned, both myself and Mr. Leigh here, about nurturing the business engagement and developing that creating that culture. And we have new staff in. It's actually like a brand new canvas, I should say, that we can then, this is what we do straight away. This is how we work. So we don't really find that too difficult. Naturally, everybody as well brings in new strings, new elements, new excitement to our particular challenges, shall we say, and also our different pathways for our students. So from me, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Mr. Leigh here is going to talk to you, obviously, again, with regards to thank yous and some of the contact details that you may wish to get in contact with myself or any of the other speakers that you've heard from tonight. Thank you.
And thank you, Sarita, and thank you, students and fellow staff and business people for their time. It's never easy using technology, and that doesn't come as natural, maybe just to get it over, but hopefully it gave you all a bit of an insight about how we operate here at the UTC. And although the feedback we had was from our older students, and some of it was there, it really does permeate down across all year groups. I think it's really important to emphasize that, you know, where I quite like the fact that, you know, universities, companies come in and do presentations and talk to our year 7s and year 8s about what they do as a business and about the job roles, because what we're trying to do is it's more or less drip feed to the students those opportunities that exist. And we know it may change. I mean, we're always being told that the job market changes rapidly. We're very much focused around STEM, but what we're trying to do is we're raising aspirations with those younger students. We're looking at the possibilities they may have moving forward. And I think the other really important thing, there's two things I want to finish on, is that students get to hear from business people, not just their teachers. And I think having that other voice really does benefit them. But coming from a student perspective, I think the benefit, one of the huge benefits I see, is public speaking. Most of the activities you will see that we do, whether it be EPQ, business breakfast, awards evening, it's all really an opportunity for our students to shine and stand up and talk about what they do. And I think that really does benefit them, because when I speak to companies and I speak to universities, they talk about how our students stand out when they go to interview, when they go to perform, when they go out there, that there's a level of confidence that brings. And I think exposing them to opportunities where they do public speaking can only do good. So thank you all for listening. I'm conscious of the time. Thank you once again. I'm going to hand you back over to Georgina now, but thank you everyone. And our contact details are on there for everyone.